Terrence Popp here, and welcome to another episode of Live from the Lair. All right, so I got a lot of questions in regards to first aid and what kind of supplies you could get to keep on hand, just in case shit goes fucking crazy south. Because I'm gonna be honest, if the police quit responding and a lot of people are getting effed up, the medical system is going to quickly overload because it's designed on a as needed. So, you know, it's not going to be able to ramp up to cover the majority of casualties and so forth that will come down the pipe relatively quickly. So with that being said, you are going to have to take matters into your own hands, get up to speed on first aid, and get yourself some of this equipment on the open market. You know, some of it you might have to get from pharmacies located outside the country, and a lot of them don't require prescriptions if that's what you need to do to stock up on certain meds that you think you might not be able to get when things go south. It can't hurt to have, 6 to 8 months of whatever medications that you need stocked up, like blood pressure, blood thinners, stuff like that. Maybe some painkillers if you are one of those individuals who lives in chronic pain, like I do. But for the most part, I control mine with natural remedies, and I try not to use a lot of painkillers. A lot of this stuff is as good as gold when the system goes down, and you can actually barter with this, especially if you have it. Now, I would suggest not doing that until you know what you can afford to, barter away and what you need to keep. So let me get this straight. I gotta spend 2.5 years on books and tuition to take useless bullshit just to get at my core classes? Space Ghost is on, you can suck my dick. You got any ungrateful relatives? Well, me too. So buy them something worthless. Get them this book. At the end of the day, they will thank you for getting them something that's priceless. Good advice. So click on the link in the description and learn for yourself why college is a complete waste of time and money. All right, so right here is my latest batch of antibiotics that I got. Now, if you'll notice, they basically have a fish on them because these are technically for aquariums. Now, I know a lot of you are like, hey, those antibiotics, I don't know about those because they're for fish. All right, now I'm gonna be honest with you. When you open these up and you look at them and you compare the capsules to the stuff you're given over the counter when you basically get a prescription for these and you fill it, they're identical. All right, they have the same dissolving capsules. It's the same material in there, except when it comes out of the factory, there's a splitter where some of it goes off to the animals and some of it goes off to the humans. And guess what? It's the same stuff. Just because it has a picture of a fish or an animal on it doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. So what I was able to get here is erythromycin. It's an older antibiotic, but it can be used for a lot of upper respiratory stuff. VD, yeah, and you can use it for cellulitis and so forth. When shit hits the fan, those little cuts can get infected. And then when that happens, you're going to need stuff like this so that you don't wind up sawing off your limbs. That's erythromycin. Here's ampicillin, which was basically one of the first generations of antibiotics that came from penicillin. This is very good stuff here. Now this is 500 milligrams, 30 capsules. Roughly, there's 10 days. There's 3 courses of 10 days in here. Now, if you're allergic to penicillin, you can't take ampicillin because it's very close, and it will have a interaction that's not good. Amoxicillin. All right, this is another one that is a couple molecules off from penicillin. This came after ampicillin, I believe by like 5 years or so. I am not up to speed if this interacts with you if you're allergic to penicillin. Now you gotta understand here, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm just telling you some of the stuff you could get your hands on for your bug out bag or for your caches. Basically your end of the road spot you're going to hang out at till all of the bullshit blows over. Now this one here is very important to get. This is tetracycline. Now unfortunately this is only 250 milligrams. You know, it is what it is. You could treat upper respiratory infections. Cellulitis is what they've given it to me in the past. VD, it works for that as well. But tetracycline is the first line of defense against Lyme disease. So if you're out there in the sticks, chances are you're going to wind up getting a tick or two. Look for the circular bruising around the tick bite. That is a telltale sign that you have contracted Lyme disease. Just to play it safe, if you wind up pulling any ticks off your body, put yourself on 750 milligrams or 500 milligrams at a minimum a day for 4 to 5 days. Okay, and that will keep it from taking root in your system because it causes, Lyme disease causes all kinds of heart problems and rheumatoid arthritis, basically immune system bullshit down the road. I've had several of my veteran friends who have cellulitis, and unfortunately it wasn't treated in time, and it usually flares up once a year and they wind up on antibiotics for extended periods of time, which is not good. All right, this is Keflex. This is a newer one here. I believe this has been around for about a decade. This is a very potent antibiotic. And my advice to you is to hold back on using this unless it gets really bad. All right, this is good for MRSA, upper respiratory infections, and cellulitis. All right, so this is very valuable. I picked, this is 500 milligrams, 60 capsules. It's roughly, either 6 10-day runs or 4 to 5 7-day runs with this antibiotic at 1,000 milligrams a day. All right, this is doxycycline. This one is a go-to if you need tetracycline. Doxycycline pretty much does all the same stuff. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get higher milligrams. This is only 100 milligrams, and I have 120 capsules. Ideally, you want to have a minimum of 500 milligrams of any antibiotic you have to take a day, but you're pretty much safe 750 to 1,000. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you what to do. Research it for yourself and make any command decisions as you see fit. All right, now these are EpiPens. Now, you can get these from the VA. If you're a veteran and you have a disability rating, you can go in there and tell them that you've noticed you become a little bit of allergic to bees. And you can get 2 of these, I think, every other month until, you kick your air addiction. All right, now, I personally do have a mild allergy to not necessarily bee stings, but to hornet stings. I've been stung by honeybees quite a few times. Did it hurt? Yes. Did I have any difficulty breathing or hives or anything? No. But I have been stung by yellow jackets, paper wasps, and so forth, and I do get hives. I don't have difficulty breathing, but, hives are basically, a telltale sign of allergic reaction. So I do get these for myself. Now, another thing you can do with these, that a lot of people really don't seem to understand is if you are hit with pepper spray and say you are close to the person delivering it and you're inhaling when that happens, that's going to get into your lungs. And a lot of people have bad reactions to capsium in their airway or in their lungs, especially if it gets there in any large amounts. And it doesn't hurt to play it safe if you're hit with that, and give yourself a dose of this, and take some Benadryl, ideally 2 to 4 capsules every 5 to 6 hours until the symptoms abate. I mean, there's a lot of people who die from that, and it's unnecessary, but it is what it is. Now over here I got this. I picked these up on eBay. These are basically combat gauze that have been permeated with quick clot. Okay, now the way the quick clot works, it's a chemical reaction that takes place when your blood hits the chemicals on this. It causes the blood to thicken either by heating it up or actually causing, there's a chemical in that causes the platelets to coagulate a little faster. It all depends upon the generation that you have. The stuff that uses a thermogenic reaction, it's older, more painful, a little more dangerous, but it does work, and you can get these things for like $10 a piece. Now this antibiotic stuff, each bottle is roughly, between $15 and $35, depending upon the size and the dosage, and if it's a newer antibiotic or not. All right, now this here, this is basically an individual combat lifesaver bag. You can buy these on Amazon, eBay. They run roughly about anywhere from $75 to $150, maybe a little bit more depending upon what is in them. Now I would suggest getting this and then getting yourself one of the newer first aid FMs from Global Security, and you can go through how it's used and so forth, because a lot of like the combat lifesaver practices of today are not the combat lifesaver practices from my heyday in the 90s when I was in special operations. All right, now this one is designed to be held on basically attached to your belt, hangs over the thigh, and splits open. All right, you're gonna come here with basically needles are inside here. You're going to have airway, they're tubes that go up your nose and over into your airway. You're going to have more of those combat lifesaver gauzes in here. You're going to have burn gauzes that you put over burns. It's going to come with medical tape. All right, again, here's more of the combat bandages, and then you're going to have tourniquets right here. Now, if you are hit with a deep penetrating root wound to any of your extremities and, you are bleeding, I would highly suggest you throw a tourniquet on it first and get yourself out of the area and then assess how bad it is, and you can determine if you keep the tourniquet on and try to get professional medical attention, because you might need sutures for arteries and so forth. If it isn't bleeding with arterial blood, usually it's spurting if it's arterial, and it's oozing if it's just a vein. If it's just a vein, you could probably sew it up, put a bandage on it, and it'll heal on its own. I can't guarantee you if there's any muscle damage. I'm not a doctor. And this particular one actually comes with its own instructions inside, which are a lifesaver. But you know, it is what it is. Now, a lot of these needles here are used for sucking chest wounds. Back in the day, you used to actually, you know, hammer a valve in through the side into the affected lung and put escape valves on it to allow any blood and fluid to drip out and not fill the lung cavity, which is typically bad. Now, in a sucking chest wound, your lungs are filling with fluid, especially on the side that's injured. And if you can go for a little while like that, if you're not treated, the liquid will actually start spilling over into the other lung and compressing your heart. And usually, if it's not treated, you'll wind up dying. This particular one has, you know, the combat scissors. These things are pretty wicked. Hardened steel, they'll cut through basically a penny. So it is what it is. Now this is a combat lifesaver bag. This is an older model, basically from the Vietnam era, 80s and early 90s. Now when you open this up, you'll see it has all kinds of pockets on the inside. Typically on the top pocket here, I usually keep, you know, a lot of my IV bags and IV starter kits. Now these IV bags, typically they're good for 2 years. You can keep them around for a year after they expire, but after that, you're, you know, you could really screw yourself up if they are contaminated. You don't need a prescription to get these. You can get these from veterinary hospitals or veterinary supplies online. They're not that expensive. And the starter kits and ringer kits never go bad. They're just tubes and so forth. Same thing goes with the needles that start this off right here. Okay, they don't go bad. Of course, they put an expiration date on these because they want people to buy more of them and throw away the old stuff. It's not necessary. All right, so again, when I do this, I put the bag, the lactate ringer, the needles, and any gauzes, and alcohol wipes and so forth, and I attach them to the IV bag, and I do it with a rubber tourniquet. All right, I've given myself IVs. Is it a little more difficult? Yes, but it can be done, especially if it needs to be done, because you'll be surprised what you can and cannot do when you need to do it. All right, like you can ignore pain and all kinds of crazy stuff if you're in a situation and it's either do this or die. A lot of times you're like, if I want to survive, fuck the pain, we're gonna roll right through it. All right, now over here I have more antibiotics. This is older stuff. It's still good though. Now you'll notice antibiotics, when they go bad, doesn't necessarily mean that they don't work anymore. What it means is their potency has been reduced. So if you come across antibiotics that are 2 years past their use date, you're probably going to have to stack up more of the dose to get the same effect. You know, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you that's the way it rolls. It's up to you. If you wanted to throw them out and replace them, not a big deal. What are these? This is Floxapro, which is like a Cipro. Again, these are some Russian stuff. I can't really read it, but it's basically Flagyl, which is an antibiotic for like amoebic dysentery and so forth, which could be fairly common when you're doing your deal. This is an antifungal antibiotic. I keep this because, you know, you never know if you're exposed to any kind of high levels of black mold, especially if you have to occupy a building that has been exposed to the elements for any great length of time and it's fairly warm outside. Black mold, if you breathe the spores at certain concentrations, it's fatal. All right. The symptoms when it starts are pretty innocuous, but it comes on quick and it will kill you. And the best way, you know, if you think you have something like that, you can start taking a few of these. You have to look up the dosages for your body weight, and, you know, you should be good to go. All right, over here on this one, again, more fish antibiotics. I have more starter needles, a couple hypodermics. Let's see what this is. Oh yeah, this is more of the, I think this is, yeah, this is blood pressure medicine for me. I have, again, like I said, I have 3 months supply, more tape and so forth. Okay. And again, I have more antibiotics. This is clindamycin and Keflex in this particular bag. This one is roughly 12 months over expiration date. I will keep it around for another 24, and then after that I will probably get rid of it. All right, now over here I have more gauze, and this is for abdominal wounds. Okay, these bandages don't go bad. Everything, you know, they say they expire, they don't. They still work. It's a goddamn bandage. Okay, there's nothing on there for any bacteria to grow, and it's in a sealed container. So now in here I put basically, this is a handy needle kit. The best way to treat a laceration in the field is to clean it and sew it shut. All right, is it gonna hurt? Yes, but if you have to do it, it's just pain. Get over it. All right, I have more gauze bandages and so forth. I have an inhaler for asthma and more fish antibiotics in here, and a couple of cravats for tourniquets. But this is basically, you know, this is for what happens in immediate treatment. This is the next level of bag. Now, I'm not a doctor or a physician assistant, so the one above this would, you know, basically have surgical equipment and maybe some more powerful drugs that could be administered if minor surgeries need to be done. Now, I personally, that's not my lane. You know, I can give immediate first aid, and then for, like, you know, low-level bullshit, I can treat out of this. Lacerations, punctures, and so forth that don't involve an organ, and you're pretty much good to go. Now, hopefully you guys found this useful. You can find almost all of this on the internet. You just got to be able to do the searches. Now, I would suggest using DuckDuckGo, because some of the pharmacies located out of the country have been blocked out on a lot of the browsers, and it's fairly difficult to get to them. But it can be done, and if you want to be ready, you're going to have to look. I'm going to try to put a list of the stuff up and where it can be found on the website, but I got a lot to do, and I got a lot of information to put out, so it might take a while to get to. So have a good evening, and I'll talk to you later.